This episode of Never Enough features descriptions of graphic horror and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
No. You mix carelessly. Give that here. The salve must be infused slowly, layer by layer, like this. You see my hands? It requires a rhythm. Steady. She is awake. Go now, child. Alert command.
Those bodies.
Lay back. Be still, Lenora. You have not yet healed.
Oh, the cellar. I have to go.
Quiet now. Say nothing. And drink this. Good. This will put you at ease for a little while. Lenora, hear me. You have been called to testify before command. Rest and think carefully of what you plan to say. I must leave now. Gods be with you.
No. Wait. I must remember. Torches of conjured silver firelight line the thatched rooftops and stone walls of the lower city square. Their sparkling light cascaded down and shimmered over the late autumn harvest moon festival under a clear night sky. I let myself be swallowed by the revelry, maneuvering through the sea of people, all similarly donned in gray and silver-embroidered festival clothes and chalk-dusted hair, to honor the mischievous spirits of the moon. As I reached the thick of it, and only just beginning to feel blissfully anonymous in my gray disguise, someone gripped my arm tightly. I braced myself, but it was only a lively old woman at the end of a dancing chain of fools, clumsily snaking past me. She slurred something at me I couldn't quite hear over all the noise, but beckoned by the pull of group dance, I understood and joined in happily, arm in arm, laughing and swaying wildly as we bumped our way through. Faster than I expected, we broke out of the crowd, prancing towards and around the enormous towering cherrywood fire in the central pit. I held my breath as we passed through the billowing smoke. The intense wave of heat scorched the evening chill from my cheeks and stung my eyes. Our jolly chain was then broken up and shooed away by a group of festival smokers, busy in preparation of their contraptions made to hang excess harvests over and around the great fire. A wonderful tradition started in the early days since the great unification of the uplands. By the end of the night, once people had their fill of drink and dance, the fire will have died, and the hanging feast would be ready to pluck down from the lines and distributed among exhausted denizens stumbling home to bed. As the smokers dropped in large pellets of wood to feed the already roaring flames, I stepped back from the swell of heat and wiped tears from my cheeks. Whether they fell from having suffered the smoke and chalk dust or from overwhelm, I was too preoccupied with hunger to care. My stomach cramped eagerly in anticipation as I recalled savoring the mouth-watering delights of the previous year. But before I could head off in search of a small bite to tide me over, I was pulled into the arms of two young lovers who embraced me together, exclaiming their glee at having found me in the uniform mix of folk. Already well lubricated, Cara and Reginald chattered off an anecdote I barely heard. Much louder was their tender body language towards each other. They seemed even more in love than the day I had met them just 2 years prior. They were then glassy-eyed young bumpkins from a far-off village, freshly betrothed, naive and shy, and were now married, well-settled, and quite the savvy city dwellers, experts in finding all the best hideaways for making merry. As the festival churned around us, my dizzy friends pulled me through the crowd, out of the main square, then through a series of winding side streets, and finally down a set of precarious stone steps to an unassuming wooden hatch door, tucked away on the back side of a multi-story bauble shop. Reggie, still laughing at his own joke, dropped to a knee and rapped the door with a sequence of knocks. A single tremendous thud shook the door from the other side. Unfazed, Reggie whistled an odd tune in response while grinning stupidly up at his blushing Cara, and the trap door swung open, pushed up from below by a large fellow with a strong curled mustache and thick hands. Laughter and music swelled up to greet us as we descended past the doorman, further down into an illicit cellar pub, hazy with candlelight and fragrant with pipe smoke. We soon found ourselves at the center of a rather large cellar, stuffed full of jubilant silver-gray drunks. A ragtag band stomping on a chalk-dusted pallet stage at one end, and a makeshift bar at the other. We swiped glasses of ale from passing trays and joined in singing along with the band's lively rendition of A Kiss on the Wind, a tune made popular some harvests ago by the exchange of traveling bards crossing the uplands. In times of lasting peace, bards seemed only to trade in happy love songs, forgetting the forlorn ballads of their great-grandfathers that satiated the masses when food and shelter were scarce. It had been long since we had such worries. The now annual Harvest Moon Festival, the various other celebrations and feasts over the last century, they all proved lasting prosperity. Proved that the unification of the uplands, the massive exchange of technology and magics that followed, and all actions taken by the Araluran Command were justified. It seemed the longer bellies stayed full, the less people cared to remember all the many heinous things we did to achieve unification. No longer war crimes, nor the years-long slaughter of countless innocents. Now, simply exaggerated rumors spread by the divided, primitive lowlanders in their attempt to feel superior for being too far away and too wild to bend the knee to the might of the Araluran. But the seldom spoken truth was that the wide, turbulent Black Sea that separated our two continents made it nearly impossible to traverse. Those people too inconvenient to care about. So we excluded the lowlanders entirely out of the unification plan. We let them live. We let them starve. Cara squeezed my hand, and I realized I had gone silent and still a moment too long.
Len, are you all right, love?
I'm fine, Cara, really. I'm fine. It's really hard to breathe in here, no? I think I might go up for some air. Cara, ever the doting soul, fanned my face with one hand and gently wiped it with the other. Then Reggie slapped my back so hard I nearly coughed.
Aye, drunk already? You see that curtain there, lass? That'll take you through a hall to the neighbouring storage house. Then up you go, up the stairs to the roof. It's quite the view. Just don't hurl your guts onto the poor blokes below. That's what the empty barrels are for.
I rolled my eyes at Reggie and followed his instructions, passing by several tangled pairs necking in the dim light of the hall, and lifting my skirt to step over a couple of wasted, mumbling men in the storage basement. The sudden stink of freshly spilled piss and bile around them hurried me along. As I climbed up the rickety staircase of the storage house, the tavern noises and hot reek of tossed ale fell away, mercifully replaced by gently creaking wood and cooler, fresher air with every flight. I found the roof surprisingly unoccupied, and the view more grand than advertised. The buildings around were dark and vacant. Many rooftops away, the top of the fire in the central pit licked up at the night sky, the surrounding celebrations muffled and echoing. Looming high in the distance behind me atop the sea cliffs, the 5 tall towers of the Araluran Citadel seemed to reach up to greet the rising moon, and their long shadows spread like bony fingers over the lower city around me. I sat on a wide edge of the roof, enjoying the fresh air and the shift in perspective. And then I realized I was being watched. A lone figure appeared and stood on a neighboring roof to face me. I lifted a hand in friendly greeting, but the figure made no move to respond. An unsettling feeling gripped me, and the polite smile faded from my face. I lowered my hand, squinting at the figure and willing my eyes to adjust to the night and make out any detail of the stranger shrouded in dark and standing still as stone. I saw the gentle shift of long, stringy hair in the breeze, the slight movement of tatters about shabby clothes hanging from thin, angular shoulders, and how their eyes reflected an eerie orange glow as if lit from within. A crash broke through the silence. Sharp screams and desperate yells flew up from the street below. Forgetting the stranger, I leaned over the edge and looked down to see people pouring out from the trapdoor, shoving and stepping on each other in their mad scramble to get out and away into the street. Fearing for my friends, I gave no thought to unmasking myself and teleported back down into the cellar bar. What was, moments ago, a room full of life and joy was now dim and splattered with gore, pungent with sweat and hot blood. Bodies were scattered about, some piled on each other, some writhing and moaning, someone still screaming. I blinked and tried to focus, surprise and panic scrambling my thoughts. Then, one of the 2 bodies at my feet shifted. I stared down as it dislodged its jaw from the mangled shoulder of the now dead man under it, and slowly turned its grotesque face up at me. Even in the dying candlelight, the dilated pupils of its extraordinarily large, unblinking eyes reflected a bright, sickly yellow. Its expression almost serene as blood and tissue poured messily from its mouth and down its chest. It let out a gurgled sigh at me, and in response, Half the bloody heads in the room wordlessly lifted and turned to me. Every pair of eyes reflecting the same awful yellow glow as the creature at my feet. Adrenaline shot through my heart. I had but a second to react before they would be upon me, then out into the street and upon the city. I had no other choice but the one I made, just as the last candle snuffed out and plunged the room into total darkness. The last thing I remembered, as red fire thundered out from my hands to fill the room, was the mess of glowing yellow eyes and gnashing jaws flying towards me.